they was running the show. Raising the taxes because they needed the dough. A reign of terror took over the land. They were shaking down the people just to beat the band. I said, hey. Hey. I said, hey. Hey. I said, hey.
You remember Robin Hood? I remember Robin Hood. And I'm not talking about that gay Errol Flynn Robin Hood. No, I'm talking about the gritty, realistic Robin Hood, where Dances with Wolves, Robin of Locksley, teams up with Driving Miss Daisy to fight the evil Sheriff of Nottingham, Hans Gruber. Right. I mean, people may bitch and moan about how they didn't like how the new Kevin Costner movie came out, but let me tell you something. It dispensed with everything that dragged Robin Hood down over the years, like humor, swashbuckling, adventure, British accents, and Prince John, alright? You know, it was the greatest movie ever made. I'll tell you what, it gets even better. You know why? Because they made a video game out of it. Let's watch.
I have played few games that felt longer than Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. What's the deal?
Well, to be perfectly frank, it's bad. I know it!
Oh, and I mean really bad. It starts out okay, but then there's just one thing on top of the other that turns out it just heaps on and makes this one of the worst, most painful games you'll ever play. So, you start out in Jerusalem where you've been captured. You and your friend are apparently getting tortured. Well, one guy is, that guy in the stocks, and apparently you've just put in time out where there's no possible chance of escape unless you pick up the sword that's laying on the counter back there. So you kill the jailer, you let him go, and you'll see right away that every one of these character portraits makes it look like some kind of weird tang-dipped mixture of a Muppet and Yogi Bear. This is the most hideous character portrait you've ever seen, and the entire game is doused in this horrible brown, orange, and gray shit. It's a really horrible color palette. And so I have no idea how to get out of this room, and it turns out there's actually RPG elements to this game. So what you've got to do is you've got to bounce around the room for a while, and then there's a menu system, so where you search. Like the door's locked, so you got to fight through the search menu, you find the hidden key, you go get the key, and you have to use the key, and then you're out. And you basically have to search every room if you want to be able to survive, because you take so much damage. You have to search everywhere you go and every corpse you find to get potions, because that's the only way you're going to survive. Azim's back there. You know, Azim is the Morgan Freeman character, the Moor. So he lets you go and he says, oh, by the way, there's a locked door over there, and I hid a door key just outside this cell. Well, that's awfully convenient, isn't it? Sure enough. He managed to find one of the master keys out of the jail, hid it in a haystack, and then allowed himself to get chained up just in time for you to save him. Did he really need saving? I don't know. But you go outside, and all of a sudden there's this guy. He goes, "Prepare to die, infidel." And this kicks off one of the major action focuses of the game. It's not the top-down combat like Zelda. No. It's this. It's the dueling. And it's the most horribly broken, awkward, ugly-looking fight scenes you've ever... You think maybe, Soul Calibur's a button mash fest? No, it's got nothing on this, where you just got basically two guys, and it's sheer chance and luck whether or not you're going to hit anybody, because basically it's just you doing this weird little hoppy dance. It reminds me of something. And just mashing the button, two guys swinging at arm's length, hoping to hit each other, and you'll pretty much always lose unless you know the trick. And I'll tell you the trick later. So let's just pretend this is going really well. Holy shit, did you see that? My sword makes bad guys explode. Hell yeah! But you gotta fight through the sewers, and I don't know, but I'm fairly sure the sewers underneath Jerusalem don't run blue. But, anything to avoid more brown color to this game, you know what I'm saying? And I immediately got killed because I'm a dumbass. So, again, we keep fighting, and this is the second action focus. You're like, what is this? All of a sudden, your characters turned into little teeny, Lilliputian stick figures, and you're apparently fighting Smurfs. And the controls are so bad, they've actually changed the sword fighting to where your sword is now the other button. And your companions are absolutely useless because all they do is they run into the Smurfs and get butchered. It's not really all that hard, it's just boring. It gets harder later, but it's just a sneak peek into how bad this game is gonna get, because this is the best it throws at you. From here on, it's actually all downhill. So you fight through that, and then you go to Sherwood Forest, where you find Guy of Gisborne, and then you have to kick his ass. And guess how you have to do that? He sends his guys after you. And there's another one of these fights. So it's you and Azim hacking away at a bunch of fucking Smurfs. And these guys have bows now, so they'll fuck you up. You notice Azim dropped dead immediately, because all he did was run into the crossbow fire. And the controls are flipped. It's pissing me off. These are some of the worst controls ever.
Hello, Sheriff. Is this your idea of control? Shut up, you twit!
I love Sheriff Hans. But all the Smurfs, they just line up at a conga line and happily wade into your swords of fury, and you win. Azim isn't dead, he just gets up. Apparently he was just knocked out by the sheriff's guards or what. The most subtly annoying part of the game is the isometric perspective, which tries to give you the illusion of 3D. The only problem is, everything you see is completely flat, so you will be literally walking into the tops of towers when there's no reason you should be. I mean, does this make any sense? I'm actually walking into the top of the crenellations. This is why I chose this game for the Spoony experiment, guys.
Why a spoon, cousin? Why not an axe?
Because it's dull, you twit! It'll hurt more! Then you go back to your castle to find your father dead, and your house is infested, I'm not kidding, by feral cats. Nothing but. And these cats will kick your fucking ass, I swear to God. These things have a 30-foot horizontal leap, and they go right for your balls, man. Look at these things, they're chasing me down. These cats are fucking pissed off. They've come for my blood. And it's really hard to hit these little creatures, and that's all you fight most of the time in this game, are the little teeny monsters, because it doesn't seem that bad because it's kind of an overhead Zelda view, but Robin is right-handed, and so his sword actually kind of tends to the right. So when you're swinging straight ahead, you're not actually swinging dead center, you're swinging off to the right. It's just so you can't hit anything that you want to hit unless you've lined it up perfectly, and most of the time, the cats will just tear your balls off. So I don't even know what I'm looking for here, because I'm not really paying attention. I think I'm here to find that blind motherfucker. And of course, he's not hiding in the most rational place. No, he's just sitting in the kitchen playing with himself, and he's, you know, apparently the cats want to leave him alone. The guy, oh, Master Robin, is it you? They tore me eyes out. So we go to Maid Marian's place, and if I could stop walking into the fucking towers! There's a guardsman there. He sees your amulet, he lets you in. So I don't know where Marion is. Maybe this old lady will help me. Holy shit! Look at this! Oh man, it looks like a pumpkin head or ripped torn and dragged. This is one ugly bitch! I'll swallow your soul, I'll swallow your soul. Then the sheriff's guards come, and then you gotta get to the third major action focus. It wasn't bad enough they had to do this stupid thing. They added a horse chase sequence where you have to routinely jump over the same two boulders every time, and it's not too bad until you realize that if you fuck up even once, you're dead. And if you fuck up 3 times, the game is over. Yeah, that's the worst part of this game, guys. If you reach the game over, you start the game over again. There's no saves, no real continues, 3 lives, that's it. You have to fight through the entire plot, and it's fucking terrible. I mean, can you imagine having to get this far if you tripped over a fucking rock on your horse? It's inexcusable. I mean, why would they not have some kind of password system? It's an RPG, for Christ's sakes. And check this out. Sherwood Forest, it fucking crawls. Look at these monsters coming out of the woodworks to beat my ass. There's little rats, there's big rats, and then there's bats and there's wild boars. Everything in Sherwood Forest wants to take a big old piece of your ass. And don't even get me started on the inventory system, which has like 2 icons for weapons. And yet that really sucks because, you know, you'll eventually need this thing called the Druid's Dagger, but it looks like a normal dagger, so if you throw it out, you're fucked. You can't win the game. So I'm still running around Sherwood fighting fucking rats and bats. And look at that. A bat flew up my ass, and I went to the next level. Can you believe that? Oh my god, it's Meatloaf or Roseanne or... Who does that look like? Ronald McDonald? I guess that's Little John, so he's like, well, I guess you want a fight to cross me bridge. And I like you actually have the option to say no. I've never said no because I just want to get through this fucking game as fast as possible, but I said yes. And so we fight. So this is one of the easiest fights because Little John's staff actually doesn't really have that much reach. But it's still awful. It's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, I swear to God. And, you know, you can't duck and stab, so there's no real advantage to ducking, because otherwise you'll just stand there looking like a jackass. So I finally figured out the secret to one of these guys, is basically just pin them in the corner and rape the shit out of them with your broadsword. Look at this. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Get some, John. Yeah. Oh, you're a big man, but you ain't nothing. I'm stabbing you in the balls over and over again. Yeah. Who's your favorite new kid? Tell me who. Yeah. You're down now, dillweed. And we haven't even gotten started yet, because now you form the Merry Men, and they can't do anything by themselves. You gotta do fucking everything for them. You gotta fight their battles, you gotta rob the wagons, and you gotta train them.
All right, gentlemen, grab your feathered caps, jerkins, bodkins, boots, swords, quivers, and pantyhose.
But first you have to break up a wedding for Will Scar... You have to get past the towers. I hate this perspective. You have to break up a wedding for Will Scarlet, who's what... Ah! Man, Pumpkinhead's back. She's everywhere. Okay, you have to break up a wedding for Will Scarlet, whose wife has been kidnapped by this lord. So you go there and you say, "Stop this shit, I object." And the guy's like, "Well, do you have any proof I've abducted her?" I'm like, "Asshole, she's sitting right there. Why don't you ask her if she's being forced to marry this guy against her will?" So, you gotta fight through the castle, you gotta fight all the guards, you get my ass kicked. You gotta find this letter in which he brags his sheriff of Nottingham, in which he's got this fine piece of pussy, ha 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 ha. And then you gotta fight this guy, because of course he's not gonna stand for it. And it's another one of these boring sword fights. And this is finally the secret. Contrary to every swashbuckling tradition you've been led to believe, standing on top of a table is actually a detriment, because you can't stab the guy downward. Your sword goes right over his head, and the guy on the ground can just whack you in the shins until you fall down. So that's the secret to fighting these guys, is to find lower ground and beat the shit out of them. And of course this guy seems to know this, which is why he's not getting in range of my fucking sword, and he's prancing around like a fairy with his hand over his head. And he won't. I'm just sitting here because I'm not going to leave this place, because if I leave he'll be on an even footing with me, and it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots again. Then you gotta rob the tax wagons, and I'll give you $1 million if you can figure out how you do that. Yup, you fight Guy of Gisborne again, and it's another sword fight. I mean, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? Now there's not even really any high ground, so it's the Rock'em Sock'em thing again, where you're just trading shots. I hate this fucking game. There's just no logic to it. It's like, man, this is pissing me off.
Something vexes thee?
Yes, something fucking vexes me, and it's I gotta train the Merry Men now, and to do that you find a Master Sword Trainer. Like, I couldn't do that myself. And the Master Sword Trainer is this little pansy in green pantaloons who wants to fight you in the exact same way every other guy does. He's not really just a Master Swordsman, he just has a bigger health bar than everyone else. So, once again, back into the breach. I'm sitting behind this rock because it's the only high ground I can hope to get, but it's not even that good because it's not high enough, and so we're just trading shots. And I'm gonna die. Hey, you gotta fight your way back because I forgot to do a save state. I had to do this whole game over again just to get back to where I was. Come on. Fight you, blah, 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 blah. He's on there. I finally got him into where I want him. I got him pinned up against the... I got him pinned up against the wall where I'm shoving my sword right up his ass. Fuck you! And then you gotta fight a giant wild boar for the Merry Men, because they're too pussy to do it themselves. I taught you guys how to use a fucking bow! What the hell, you guys? You remember this from the movie? I fucking don't. And what the hell is going on here? I'm shoving my sword up this boar's anus, and it's not doing anything. So back to camp where the Celt Smurfs have attacked, and notice my Merry Men are dead already, except for Friar Tuck, who walks into a half-dozen crossbow bolts. That's a badass. Oh, this is taking forever. Can we speed this up? So after all that, and much more, you finally get to storm the castle. Alright. Oh. This is terrible. Can we try to make this more epic, please? Anyone?
Hey.
And I won, that's it. Just kidding.
Now you're not allowed to enter.
Didn't work, did it? Anyway, I'm finally up to the... What the fuck is that? It's a giant skeleton. Ah! It's that bitch again. She must be everywhere. I guess she's that evil witch who follows the sheriff around. And anyway, she's got a bodyguard skeleton, this 30-foot skeleton, and you can only beat it with this thing called the Druid's Knife. Yeah, I remember this from the movie, too. Come on. Oh. This thing is such bullshit, too, because it's so hard to hit him. So you just gotta pound him until it's dead. Come on! Yeah, yeah. And it blows up.
Fuck me, he cleared it.
So you finally blow up the creature, you talk to the witch, who also explodes, and then you find the Sheriff of Nottingham, who looks nothing like Hans Gruber, disappointingly. And what's really funny is you get into kind of this little witty banner thing where he's like, you know, and being dead seems to run in your family, and the sheriff goes, yeah, touche. You really got me there. So it's the last fight, and, you know, this whole thing reminds me of something. Just something about the way they move. Fuck, what is it?
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me. What am I to rhyme and do like me? It feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Oak Town, and I'm known as such, and this is a beat. Break it down. Stop. Have a time.
This isn't climactic in any way. It's just like every other fight you've had to endure a dozen times over. It's just really annoying because you're trying to draw the sheriff to where he'll get, you know, stabbed in the kneecaps. Really, you're just trying not to fuck up this whole game. And, you know, believe me, in a game this long, it can run you about an hour if you're not making any mistakes. And with all the inventory management you gotta do, that's a gamble. But, I mean, you're just under so much stress. So, I finally beat the sheriff, and in case you were hoping this ending was worth it, it's really not. Yeah, it's the usual mix of orange portraits talking to each other, with a distinct lack of Sean Connery, which I find unforgivable, by the way. So the orange people stand in a row. You'd think she'd want to get over all this trauma she suffered today after being nearly raped and married by the Sheriff of Nottingham. No, they want to get married right away because, you know, in Sherwood, all hell breaks loose on a regular basis. The king interrupts. Priest says, "You may kiss the bride," and Robin goes, "Okay," and headbutts her. Huh. And they live happily ever after.